everybody! Woohoo! I'm so freaking excited. This is the first episode of season 2. Let's go! So, I do have some explaining to do because I said that this episode was going to go up last Friday. So I'm a little bit behind, about a week. The reason for that is because I filmed this episode before, but I felt like when I went and edited it and then went back and rewatched it, I feel like I just wasn't giving the right information out that I wanted to, and I wanted to I wanted to be proud of this first episode. You know what I mean? I didn't want to rush it just to get an episode up. I do apologize that I've been off for a little bit. I haven't uploaded on this channel for a little bit, but we're back, baby, and we're better than ever now, and I'm so freaking excited because this first episode is freaking amazing, okay? This woman that I'm going to be talking about is an inspiration. She is a freaking goddess. She's a queen, okay? So, let's just get to it, okay? So, the person I'm going to be talking about, her name is Marsha P. Johnson, okay? She was originally born Malcolm Michaels Jr. She lived in New Jersey until she, I graduated high school and whatnot. And then with $15 in her hand and a bag in her other hand, she moved to New York. And in New York, she created a whole nother person for herself. She created herself, okay? She not only was a gay liberationist, she, like I said, was an inspiration to so many people, okay? She had 6 siblings, so there was lots of them, you know, why not? She was a very prominent figure in the Stonewall Uprising. So the Stonewall Uprising happened in 1987, so it happened a while ago, okay? And this all started about 1:20 a.m. in the morning, one day. And the reason why it started was because a lady by the name of Stormy DeLavarre, I apologize if I said that totally wrong, but her name was Stormy, okay? And she was an American lesbian woman. She was also a very big icon for gay civil rights, and she was an entertainer, okay? And the reason why it started with her was because at 1:20 a.m., a police officer tried to arrest her, and she fought back. She was not getting arrested again, you know what I mean? And the police started a riot, basically. They caught the Stonewall Inn on fire, okay? So the Stonewall Inn is very significant in Marsha P. Johnson's history, her upbringing, basically, because when she first went to the Stonewall Inn, when she first moved to New York, she was one of the first drag queens that was allowed to perform on the stage, because the Stonewall Inn was a gay bar, and they didn't really allow drag queens to perform on their stage because they didn't agree with them, which I thought was totally wrong because, freaking Marsha P. Johnson fought for them, fought for gay civil rights, you know what I mean? But that's coming later on, okay? I'm going to explain more into that, but back to the Stonewall Inn. So Marsha P. Johnson first went to the Stonewall Inn, and everybody started calling her Marshall. And she's like, my name's not Marshall, it's Marsha. So that's how she got her first name. And the P stands for Pay It No Mind, okay? Which I thought was so freaking cool because it's just pay it, because the reason it was Pay It No Mind, the P stood for that, was because when people would ask her, oh, are you a boy or are you a girl? All she would say is Pay It No Mind, which I thought was so freaking cool because that's so much confidence just to bring out and be like, Pay no mind, because it shouldn't matter, you know what I mean? Why would we even need to ask anybody that? Because it shouldn't matter. She's a human. Recognize her as a human, you know what I mean? And her last name Johnson came from the first ever restaurant she ever worked at when she moved to New York. It was called the Howard Johnson restaurant, and she waitressed there, and that's how she picked her last name. So her full name, Marsha P. Johnson, which is a cool ass name if you ask me. That's freaking cool, okay? But anyway, so that whole riot started, and a lot of people said that, like, Marsha P. Johnson was a very big, was a very prominent figure in gay civil rights. She fought for the gay community and the LGBTQ plus community. She was a very big inspiration, like I said. And a lot of people said that she started the Stonewall Uprising and she, like, led all these marches. But Marsha, being who Marsha is, she's such a humble person that she is like, no, I didn't start it. By the time I showed up to the riot at the Stonewall Uprising, it was already over. Like, she was so, like, humble. She was like, I didn't start it. I'm just a follower. And I thought that was so cool because it's like, that's what a leader should do. You know what I mean? Like, a true leader doesn't just take all the recognition. They're like, no, it wasn't me. It was all of us, you know? So I thought that was really cool. And I wanted to talk about, like, her very first, like, her most prominent act, I should say, in her life. So she was part of this group of a bunch of other drag queens. And she actually did a sit-in at NYU for gay civil rights. And I thought that was so freaking cool. Like, she fought for them. I just, like, she was such an inspiration because so many people looked up to her and so many people believed in her. And I thought that was so awesome that people had someone to look up to. You know what I mean? But sadly, Marsha P. Johnson died on July 6th, 1992. That's when they found her body. The police said that it was a suicide. But if anybody who knew Marsha, they knew it wasn't a suicide because Marsha was so full of life. Like, she was so kind and she was just so, like, she knew what she was doing. You know what I mean? She was going after what she wanted. And they were, like, all of her friends and all of her family were like, there was no way that she killed herself. Because, like, that's just not who she was. And actually, her best friend, Sylvia Rivera, which I'm going to talk about here in a second, she was like, there's no way Marsha killed herself because we both said we'd jump into that river together. Because her body was found in the Hudson River on July 6th. And another reason why people said that it wasn't a suicide was because she had a big hole in her head. Like, it was bashed in. And the police did close her case as a suicide. But thankfully, there have been many organizations and many people fighting for justice for Marsha P. Johnson, and they've reopened the case and deemed her death as undetermined. So now the case is back open, and I'm very happy about that because the person who killed her is finally gonna get what they deserve. You know what I mean? There have been lots of conspiracies on what happened to her, and a couple of them, like, there was one that the mob caught up with her because the bouncers and the people who, like, guard the front gates of the Stonewall Inn, they were part of the mob. So a lot of people said, oh, the mob got her. And some people said, oh, it was suicide. When I say some people, that was most of the cops. Mostly, like, the cops declared her death as a suicide without any evidence, without any, like, forensic evidence for that fact. And they just deemed it. So that looks suspicious already. So I think the police caught up with her one day and they killed her. That's what I think happened. It's a very sad reality that happens a lot, unfortunately. The reason I say that the police caught up with her was because she was arrested over 100 times. She was even shot once. Okay? If she was such a horrible person that she was arrested so many times, why did they keep letting her go? Right? They obviously didn't have any hard evidence to keep her, and that's why I think they killed her, because they didn't like her, you know what I mean? And that's so horrible, because so many people liked her. She was a freaking goddess, you know what I mean? She and her best friend, Sylvia Rivera, started the STARS house. So STARS stood for Street Trans Action Revolutionaries. So basically what they would do is they would take in and give a home to gay and trans street kids who were living on the streets because they were unwanted, unloved, and like Sylvia and Marsha brought them in and they gave them a home. And I thought that was so freaking cool, because it's like where Marsha started was she was living on the streets. She was one of those people who needed a home, and thankfully she found, like, somebody found her when it was like 10 degrees Fahrenheit outside, and they found her and was like, do you want to come sleep on my living room floor? And she was like, yeah, you know, like, who wanted, like, if you're freezing outside. And to the day that she died, she still lived with those people, which I thought that was so freaking cool. It's like somebody showed her kindness and gave her a home, so she repaid that deed. And I was like, God damn, that's such an inspiration, you know what I mean? Like, wow. My God. I also wanted to talk about her friend Sylvia Rivera, because she was also a freaking inspiration. She was right there alongside Marsha. Marsha did take in Sylvia when Sylvia was about 13, I think, maybe 15. And that's when they really just became best friends. And that's also why, like, a lot of people say that Marsha started Pride marches, because she was, like, the oldest one of the group, and she just she pointed people in the right direction, you know what I mean? And so Sylvia Rivera was her best friend, and they were both gay liberationists. They both marched for gay rights. They both fought for gay rights. They were both beaten and harmed for gay rights. And I thought that was like they fought for gay rights, which was awesome. You know what I mean? And there was one time that it was during a march in New York, and Sylvia stood up on front of the stage and was given a speech to the whole march, you know what I mean? Like, they do that before marches and stuff like that. And she was trying to speak, and everybody started booing at her. And she's like, are you kidding me? You're booing at me? Because Sylvia and Marsha were trans. So back in the day, supposedly, gay people really didn't agree with trans, which I thought that was horrible, because it's a whole group, you know what I mean? LGBTQ plus community. There's a T in there, you know, and it's a whole community, and this whole community should be accepting of one another. And I think it's getting a lot better, definitely, but back in the day, that's not how it was seen. And I thought that was horrible, because they were all in the same boat. They were all fighting for the same thing, gay rights, you know what I mean? And for people to boo Sylvia off the stage, that really hurt Sylvia. She was talking, and during her speech, she's like, are you freaking kidding me? I'm fighting for you. I give beef for you, and you're booing me. You hate me because I'm different than you. I'm like, what the? It didn't really make sense to me, because it's like, why would a community do that to one another? But I guess, you know what? A lot of communities do. And I think that's horrible. If we should all just be accepting of one another, you know what I mean? We should just all love each other, because we're all on this freaking earth together. But anyway, after that march, sadly, Sylvia Rivera stopped being a gay liberationist, which, you know what? I don't freaking blame her, because I would. If I just got booed off the stage from a whole group that I was fighting for, I'd be like, nope, I'm done. These people obviously don't want me, you know what I mean? And I thought that was so sad that happened to her. And she stopped being a gay liberationist for a long time. She didn't come back to being a gay liberationist until well after Marsha P. Johnson died. And it was really sad that happened to her, you know? But Sylvia actually got to speak in Rome, Italy, and she was cheered on by thousands of people. And I thought that was so freaking so good for her. And I was so happy for her to see her do that. You know what I mean? That's freaking awesome. Like, look where she started and look where she ended up. But sadly, Sylvia Rivera also died in 2002 of kidney failure. So sad, so horrible that these two inspirations died too soon, I believe. And they inspire a lot of people, you know what I mean? And like one of Sylvia's most accomplished things in her life was that somebody came up to her and was like, you know what, you helped me see who I really am. Like, you helped me become me. Like, what a freaking compliment. You know what I mean? Like, could you imagine being told that? Like, you helped me become me. Like, wow. That's such a freaking compliment, and I'm so glad that Sylvia got to see that, because I don't feel like Marsha P. Johnson got to feel that glory. And I'm very sad about that, because Marsha deserved a lot of glory because she did so good for so many people. Like, there's stories out there, like, if you go up to Marsha and you said, oh, I like your scarf, she'd be like, oh, here, have it. I'm like, what a good freaking person, you know what I mean? And Sylvia and Marsha both were such good people. Like, they took people in who were living on the streets into their home and they gave them a home. Like, they took children in, 13-year-old people in to their home. And I just thought that was freaking amazing, you know what I mean? But yeah, so Marsha and Sylvia were freaking goddesses. They were queens, man. So Marsha, like, her act in drag queen, like when she was a drag queen, she was just kind of a joker, you know what I mean? She would write these little, like, funny songs and funny poems, and they were so freaking good. She was in a couple of films, actually. She did a couple of interviews with a couple filmers, you know what I mean? And they're actually on Amazon Prime. So if you want to go check those out, they're freaking so good. That's like how I learned from her, like, about her. And like, I think that Marsha and Sylvia both should have more recognition. We should be, like, being taught about this. Like, I've never heard of the Stonewall Uprising until now. I've never heard of Marsha P. Johnson until now. Until somebody told me, like, hey, you should go check her out. And I'm like, oh my God, like, I should, because, like, she's such a freaking inspiration. Why aren't we being taught about her? Why aren't people, like, talking about her more? You know what I mean? And that's why I wanted to do this episode on her and Sylvia, because I feel like they're two women that just wasn't recognized enough. And it's Pride Month, and I want to just freaking start this first episode of season 2 with a bang. And Marsha and Sylvia were both freaking amazing, okay? And I'm so happy that I freaking listened to my friend who told me that I should do this episode on her, because if not, you guys want to know about her. But now you do, and I hope you guys are satisfied, and, like, I hope you find somebody who's an inspiration to you. Like, when I learned about Marsha and when I learned about Sylvia, I was very inspired, because they were two very confident women that made me confident. Like, honestly, like freaking Marsha's middle name, pay it no mind. That's so much confidence. And, like, I'm not one to be very confident, and that's why I really like Marsha and Sylvia, because they were two very confident women that showed other women that they can be confident too. You know what I mean? And I loved that. Loved that. So I feel like everybody should find their inspiration in this world, no matter who it is, okay? Find it. And I hope you guys are happy with your inspiration, you know what I mean? I hope you guys are liking what you're doing, you know? I know I'm happy with what I'm doing. Doing this freaking podcast, and I love it. But yeah, so Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera, what beautiful women, what beautiful creatures that were taken too soon. Rest in peace. I did also want to talk about the whole trans community, because I feel like they deserve recognition too. There are at least 20 murders of trans people in the U.S. each year. And that's freaking horrible. They're people. You know what I mean? And I want to bring awareness, because not everybody's killers get caught like Marsha's, but some do. There was one female that was sadly beaten to death by a man. She was a trans woman, and he was caught, and all he got was 12 years for murder. Beaten to death. He beat somebody to death, and he got 12 years in prison. I mean, I don't know law and stuff, but that just doesn't seem right. And I believe that people, like, no matter who you are, if you get murdered, you get justice. That's what I believe. I believe you should get justice. And whoever killed you should freaking be in prison, because they're obviously not fit to live in society with other people. You know what I mean? And I just wish that Marsha P. Johnson's murderer gets caught. And, in fact, there are groups out there who are actively trying to find this person. For example, the Anti-Violence Project. They are an organization that actually helped to reopen Marsha P. Johnson's case and made her death deemed not suicidal, but deemed undetermined, so that way they can keep investigating it, which I thought that was freaking amazing, because that, like, obviously it wasn't a suicide, you know what I mean? And so this group, AVP, Anti-Violence Project, they actually did a documentary on Marsha P. Johnson, which you can watch on Netflix if you have Netflix. It's called The Death and Life of Marsha P. Johnson. And that's where I learned about Marsha. You know, I freaking read about her after I watched this documentary, and I was like, wow, like, she was such an inspiration. Why aren't we being taught more about this? Why aren't we, like, seeing more of this information on social media, out in the public, anywhere, you know what I mean? Like, there needs to be more attention brought to this, and that's why I wanted to do this episode, like I said. But this group is doing amazing things, and I wanted to point this group out because there are other groups out there like this that we aren't seeing either. Like, I never heard of the Anti-Violence Project until I watched that documentary. And I believe that we should just be given this information, and, like, shown about it, and, like learned. Like, we should be learning this kind of information in schools and all that. And I'm sad that we're not, but I feel like we will in the future. I'm very confident that in the future we're going to be learning about this, and I'm so freaking excited that we're actually going to be able to see, like, all this coming to happen, you know, coming to be. But yeah, so Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera were freaking amazing women. They're goddesses, queens, and I hope you guys learned a lot on this episode. I know I did when I was researching, and I hope you guys enjoyed this first episode of season 2. I was so freaking excited. But yeah, so let's go into the positive segment time. Woo woo. So, I don't have like a pre-planned, like pre-read, positive little segment. I just have something that happened to me that was super positive and I wanted to share. Okay, so a little while ago I went into Walmart and I had this shirt on, okay? But you know, let me back up for a second. It wasn't this shirt. It was like astronaut and like spacey kind of shirt, okay? It was black, white, okay, you get the picture. But this shirt, I cropped it myself, and I'm not one of those people who likes to like DIY crap on my clothes. Like, I feel like when I do something to my clothes, I automatically don't like it, and I usually get rid of it. But I was like, I really like this shirt, and so a little while ago, I put this shirt on, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna freaking wear this to Walmart, and I'm gonna finally wear it, because I never worn it before. And then I was like, no, I'm not gonna wear it, but then I thought to myself, if I'm not gonna wear it, I'm gonna get rid of it. And I really liked it, and I wasn't gonna get rid of it. So I freaking wore it, walked into Walmart, and guess what happened? I got a freaking compliment on my shirt. The Walmart worker was like, hey, I like your shirt. I was like, oh my god, thank you. Like, that made me so freaking happy. And, like, I wanted to talk about this because, like, just by complimenting somebody, like, you have no idea what's going on. Like, I felt so insecure, like, about wearing that shirt. And then somebody complimented me and made my day. Made my freaking week, in fact. It's still making my day because I'm still talking about it, obviously. But, like, that shows, like, just by complimenting people, like, it can mean so much to them. And I seen this quote the other day, actually, that said that, like, when you compliment people, you will never see, like, how much it means to them. You'll never see it. But you should just know that it means a lot. And it does, honestly. Have you ever been complimented by somebody? Like, if you have, you know. You know what I mean? And so that's why I want to talk about it, because, like, I want to push everybody, and I'm even pushing myself to compliment more people. I know it can be scary because it's like, oh, should I say something? Like, I do like that shirt, but should I say it? Because I personally, I'm, like, I get a little bit of social anxiety sometimes, and so, like, I don't always say what's, like, what pops into my head. But I've been trying to push myself there because, like, you grow when you're uncomfortable. And, like, that's what Marsha and Sylvia taught me also, because I know that sometimes in their lives they were uncomfortable. But they pushed past that and they became inspirationists. You know what I mean? They became freaking icons. And, like, that's why, like, I want to talk about them, because they inspired me. And that's, like, the whole point of this freaking podcast, is because I'm going to be talking about women who have inspired me, who are still inspiring me. And yeah, so I want to push everybody to compliment somebody. Okay, so if you're watching this today, or if you're listening, you heard that right, people. You can watch me now on YouTube at Power to Women. Women has an X where the E is, okay? The reason for that is because the X in women stands for, like, it includes everybody. It includes trans and non-binary women. But it also is more than that. It is a feminist act. Basically, what it means is that we're not going to have the suffix man or men into our name, because that's not, like, we're not from them. We're not from a man. We're not from men. We're a woman, okay? So I put an X in it, which I think I'm going to, like, start pronouncing it with an X, so, like, Womix. Do you like that? Womix? I kind of like that, so I might be saying women as Womix now, okay? So if you hear me saying that, you know why now. But, yeah, so if you're listening, go watch me. If you're watching, you can listen to me too, but you can also watch me. And I'm on YouTube now, everybody, and everybody knows that I wanted to be on YouTube. Like, I've literally been talking about starting a YouTube channel since I started this podcast, even before that. You know what I mean? And I'm so freaking excited that it's finally happening. And I just want to push everybody out there to go after what you want. Go after your dreams. Compliment people. Yeah. Be kind, okay? Be nice. And have fun, you know? Get a little groovy with it. I don't know. But yeah, so that's this episode, everybody. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. As always, you can find this podcast on Instagram and Twitter at Power to Women, when women has an X, so Womix. You can also find this on YouTube now. And you can find this podcast on all podcasting mediums. And you can find my personal Instagram page at EmilyNichols00. And you can also find my personal Twitter page at YoungEmily1864. So I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day. And I hope you guys have an awesome week, because you deserve it. Be kind to one another. And peace and aliens be with you.